What in the name of mashed potato is Chef Archie Pie cooking today? Roasted parsnips with honey, garlic, thyme and sesame seed sprinkle. Let's get cracking, shall we?
Hi everybody. We're making roasted parsnips today. Going to roast the parsnips in honey with some butter, some salt, some pepper, and I'm going to add some thyme and a little bit of garlic too. So, oh, and I mustn't forget, we're going to finish them off with a little sprinkling of some toasted sesame seed. First of all, we want to peel them. So I like to take the end off each parsnip. I know some places, when the parsnips are in really amazing condition, you can very easily trim around the stalk and leave the stalk on for presentation. But I want to make this process as easy as possible. So I'm going to just snip the ends off each parsnip. So I'll just do a few for demonstration purposes, and I'll just peel a couple. So just, as you can see, just peel. I've even seen parsnips prepared with the peel. So that's something that a lot of people, a lot of chefs I guess, do because they like to retain the skin. Brilliantly beneficial in terms of fibre. And in all fairness, there are times when the parsnips are in season, the skin isn't very challenging. So it's okay to leave the skin on if it's a nice tender skin. It's the same, I suppose, as all root vegetables. There are certain times of the year, certain times of the season rather, when the skin isn't a challenge to eat. So sometimes it's okay to leave the skin on. I like the skin off, so there you have it. Okay, so all the parsnips are peeled. We've got about, I don't know, about a dozen parsnips. Now, I know for a fact there are people who wouldn't cut these. If the parsnips are too big, you cut them into quarters. If the parsnips are of a small to medium size, I want to cut them in half. So what you want to imagine is, when you are deciding how big to cut the parsnips, is how big do you want it on your plate? I say that obviously if it's too huge on the plate, it's not going to look nice for presentational purposes. So I want to keep it at a size that's in relation to the other items on the plate. Now, allowing for shrinkage, I'm quite happy with the size I'm cooking today. Our parsnips are now ready. Pop into some boiling water. Cover them with water, and I've put about a teaspoon of salt in there. All we're going to do now is bring them to a boil, or the boil, and once they're boiling, 5 minutes on the timer. So they'll take a few minutes to get to the boil because the water I've used is only lukewarm. Okay, so my parsnips have been in the boiling water. They went in, the water was lukewarm, I brought it to a boil, waited for the water to flicker, then I popped my lid on and cooked it for about 3 or 4 minutes. And now I'm going to take the parsnips out of the water, and as you can see, they've started to change their appearance already. There's a slight difference in the way they look. Okay, so in the pan I've got a knob of butter, round about 1/2 ounce, and I've got a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to throw in 1 clove of garlic that I've thinly sliced. I'm going to flavour the oil and the butter with our herbs and spices now. So the garlic's gone in. I'm now going to put in a teaspoon of thyme. Now I'm rather annoyed because my grocery delivery is due today and I had fresh thyme on the order. So annoyingly, I don't have fresh thyme, so I'm using dried thyme at the moment. Just want to flavour the oil and the butter with the garlic. So give that just a few minutes in the oil, and I'm just testing to see how the garlic's cooked by trying to crush it with my wooden spoon, and I can see that the garlic started to cook. So now in goes the parsnips. I'm using my hands because the parsnips have cooled down considerably since I took them out of the water. Now this is the bit when we're going to coat the parsnips with, lost that one, we're going to coat the parsnips with our butter and our oil. You can do this in a bowl, by the way. The heat's been switched off, so if you wanted to, you could melt your butter and olive oil in a separate pan. You could pop your garlic and your thyme in that pan, cook it for a minute or two just to flavour the fat, and then you could pour your flavoured fat over the parsnips in your bowl, give them a toss round, and now we're going to transfer these to a roasting sheet and we're going to cover them with honey. Okay, going to place these parsnips on the roasting tray. I'm sure they're all going to fit. So all my parsnips, which are now covered with a garlic and thyme flavoured oil, they're going to be cooked on a high heat, so that's why I've used some baking paper, because I promise you, have you tried to clean a baking sheet the day after you've cooked with sugar or honey on it? It's a nightmare, I promise you. So I'm going to drizzle some honey over them now. Not sure if you can see, I've got my honey in a little squirty bottle. So I'm just going to drizzle some honey over them now. And I am going to turn them over and drizzle the other side with honey. But at the moment, I'm just going to put a bit of seasoning, a bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. And now they're going to go in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then I might turn them round and put a little bit more honey on the other side. Okay, so the parsnips have had around 20 minutes, and as you can see, they're starting to cook rather nicely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn each one over. You might see the little well done sticks of garlic in there. I'm going to be honest with you, I would discard those. I wouldn't even use them. With reference to a point I made before, spices and herbs, when they burn, they're not nice. When garlic's burnt, it's bitter, and I promise you, you can't get the burnt taste of garlic out your mouth for a long time. So I've turned the parsnips over. Now let's have a little bit more honey on these. I want enough honey on there to complement the beautiful taste of the parsnip, so I want it plastered. Some people want less. Now it's going to go back in the oven for about 10 minutes only. And the temperature of the oven, because it would help if I told you guys the temperature of the oven, the first 20 minutes that the parsnips went in the oven, they were on quite a high temperature, about 380 degrees Fahrenheit, about 195 to 200 degrees centigrade. But the second stage of cooking, they're going in the oven now for around 10 minutes. I'm going to cook them on a bit slower because, as you can see, we've got colour there. We just want to get that honey glazed on the surface of the parsnip. So I've covered my parsnips with honey. It's entirely up to you how much honey you want to put on them. I want to taste the honey. I want the honey to complement the wonderful, slightly bitter flavour of the parsnip. It's going to go in the oven for 10 minutes on around 180 degrees centigrade, which is about 345, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And after that 10 minutes, they will be fantastic because all this honey will be glazed in. They'll be nice and shiny. So I've just took them out. As you can see, obviously, can I say this, that they are absolutely perfect. They've got a lovely shiny glaze on them. And let me see if I can zoom in and show you a little bit closer. They have got that lovely shine of the honey, and they're lovely and soft. They've got a beautiful texture, lovely and shiny. And there's something chewy about these as well. Chewy on the outside and soft and fluffy in the middle. Time to sprinkle these beautiful toasted sesame seeds, but just to give it a little bit of a lovely touch to it. So what we've got here is some fabulous roasted parsnips with honey, olive oil, butter, thyme, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper. And at the end, we've sprinkled them with some toasted sesame seeds. And I will make you a promise, if you follow exactly the instructions that you've seen in this video, you will produce the most beautiful, sweet tasting parsnips, roasted that is, at your Thanksgiving table ever. Hey, listen folks, I'd really be grateful if you could share, like, or even subscribe to the channel. And to find out about my next video, would you please press the notification bell. This is Chef Archie Pie, sending everyone lots and lots of love. Do take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. I'm going to eat this one. It's nice and crispy. Absolutely gorgeous.